add a nice $750,000 term rider to a 33-year-old, which is going to be our case study, the software is still going to show, if you want preferred rates, it's going to show you need to get a paramedical and a BCP, blood chemistry profile. That is not correct. Just know that non-med is 50, 1 million and below. But if you're looking for preferred underwriting, you have to go over 1 million. Then you need to do the para and the BCP. Okay? So I had somebody the other day say, I'm doing 750,000. How come I can't get preferred? It's because the non-med now is 1 million and above and below. Non-med is 1 million and below. Preferred is 1 million and above. It's Friday. I need some more caffeine, clearly. So the preferred underwriting, 1 million and above. These are the classifications for preferred. 50 and below is non-med. Okay, so this is the new evidence of insurability, which I'm going to show you at the end. Okay, I'm going to show you at the end. We're going to talk about critical illness now. So I just talked about term insurance, life insurance. Life insurance, we know at some point there, as long as the policy is in force, there's going to be a claim, because we know statistically 10 out of 10 people are going to die, right? So we know there is going to be a claim from a life insurance standpoint, as long as the policy is still in force. Critical illness, there may not be a claim on critical illness, right? Statistically now, if you go on to the Canadian Cancer Society website, this stat is now 1 in 2 from a cancer standpoint. When I used to do, there used to be a stat that I used to talk about that by the year 2015, we're now 2020, but the statistic used to be by the year 2015, the incidences of cancer are going to increase an estimated 70%. And we all used to go, oh, well, now it's 1 in 2. Let's hope we're not the 50% that is going to make a claim if we have critical illness insurance. So we get the CI, not because we're going to die, but because we're going to live, and the impact on our finances, if we don't have coverage like critical illness, is going to be devastating. So typically what's happening is if you don't have critical illness insurance and one of the drugs that you're taking for your critical illness is not covered by the government, where are you going to get that extra money? Let's say you are lucky enough that you've been able to put money away for your retirement. That's maybe where you're going to have to go in order to pay for this drug that is not covered by the government, because not everything is covered by the government. I'll tell you a story about a wholesaler. When I first started with Equitable Life, so that was 13 years ago, I've been with WFG and Equitable Life, 100% dedicated to you. One of our other wholesalers who was on the MGA side, which, you know, we call the dark side, one of the wholesalers, his father had, the parents had separated, the father had moved to Alberta, and he had not one critical illness, but he had two critical illnesses. And all of his drugs were covered in Alberta. And this wholesaler said, oh, Dad, why don't you come back so you can be with all of the family, so we can all be together, you know, where you've got these critical illnesses. Unbeknownst to the family, one of the drugs that he was taking for his one of the critical illnesses that he was suffering from was not covered by OHIP. It was covered in Alberta, but it was not covered by OHIP. And the cost was $60,000 a year what ended up happening was the family are banding together to pay for that $60,000 a year. It's too bad that I don't know if the wholesaler had spoken to his family about critical illness. I just know that some of my family members that I've talked to about this type of coverage, they don't want to listen to me because what do I know, right? So that may have been the case in his family, but one of the drugs was covered in Alberta, is not covered in Ontario by OHIP. So devastating, right? Devastating to him personally, and then devastating to the family every year that they have to band together and pay the $60,000. So anyway, this is why if we should be talking to everybody about this type of coverage, but some people, like my family, my sister-in-law is suffering from MS and now cancer. She has term insurance, actually. She does not have critical illness insurance. So, yeah, but that's another story. Didn't want to listen to me. Anyway, so we should be talking to everybody about critical illness insurance. And I think we all know somebody either within our family or close to us that is suffering from a critical illness, right? So as we know, CI, when we have satisfied the definition of a critical illness, should we be diagnosed, it pays out a one-time lump sum that we can use however we wish, okay? We can add it as a rider on term or on Equimax or on our universal life plan. Today, our example is going to be a critical illness plan with a term rider. So we're doing it the other way around. Critical illness, we have 25 covered conditions for adults, but a child can be covered from 15 days old, and they have 5 extra coverages that follow them to age 25. Okay, so a child can have critical illness coverage from 15 days old, and they are covered by the 5 additional coverages that follow them through to age 25. Okay, so CI, we can get 3 types of coverages. Term 10, just like term 10 term, we can lock in our client's insurability. We can do level to 75, which is permanent coverage to age 75, and then permanent to age 100. So the term 10, we can really lock in cheaply the client's insurability, which is going to be our case study that I'm going to go through in a moment. What is built in is called the early detection benefit, and it can be paid out twice if client is covered for one of these 4 non-life-threatening conditions. If you think about the covered conditions, you see here cancer has to be life-threatening cancer. But we are covered in the early detection benefit for what are deemed as 4 non-life-threatening conditions. So a gentleman is the T1A, T1B prostate cancer. That is deemed to be non-life-threatening. If it's caught early, it's curable. And then we have ductal breast cancer. We have skin cancer or superficial malignant melanoma. Or if you go in for a stent, they are considered non-life-threatening. Let's assume we have a coverage of 100,000 on our standalone or our permanent coverage. Let's say it's a gentleman. So I got 100,000 as my CI, and I have a gentleman that is diagnosed with early prostate cancer. He can get 15% or $15,000 check claimed under the early detection benefit, and it does not affect